If this story moved you, we'd love to know. Where in the world are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below, and let's see how far Eli's journey has reached. Your thoughts matter here, and every comment helps us grow this community of dreamers and believers. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you won't miss tomorrow's powerful news story. It's one you don't want to miss, filled with heart, hope, and a twist that just might leave you speechless. Until then, stay inspired and keep chasing your dreams. A teacher tried to shame a poor student in front of the school. She never expected this outcome. Eli grew up in a remote farming village on the edge of Mississippi, in a town most maps forgot. He was just 12 years old, but already the weight of the world seemed to rest on his small, narrow shoulders. Life had never been easy for him. His clothes were hand-me-downs, torn, faded, and too big for his thin frame. His shoes were more holes than leather, and most days, he walked to school on the gravel road barefoot, just to save the last bits of rubber clinging to the soles. At home, things weren't much better. His mother, Grace, had been bedridden for months. A chronic illness drained her energy, leaving her too weak to cook, clean, or even speak for long. Eli often found her curled under a thin blanket, shivering despite the southern heat. His father, Curtis, worked odd jobs when he could, find them, fixing fences, picking up shifts at the lumber mill, hauling produce from nearby farms. But the money was never enough, and the medical bills piled up like a mountain too steep to climb. Despite everything, Eli carried a quiet strength. He never complained, not even when kids at school made fun of his appearance. "Hey, Ragged Eli," they'd call out. "Want to borrow some soap?" He would lower his head, clutch his worn-out books tighter, and keep walking. Deep down, he knew school was his only way out, a fragile lifeline to a better future. And there was one person who saw that light in him. Mr. Campbell, an old literature teacher with sharp eyes and a softer heart. While other teachers overlooked, Mr. Campbell noticed how focused he was, how his scribbled notes filled the margins of every torn page. Eli had no backpack, so he tied his books with twine. He had no pens, so he borrowed broken ones from the trash and made them work. One afternoon, after class, Mr. Campbell handed Eli a box wrapped in brown paper. Inside were second-hand books, a new notebook, and a pen set. "I believe in you," he said. "Read everything, write everything. You've got a voice. Don't let this world silence it." Eli didn't say a word. He couldn't. His throat burned with emotion, and his eyes welled up as he clutched that box like it was gold. That night, he stayed up late beside a flickering oil lamp, reading, dreaming, writing in that new notebook. And for the first time in a long time, he didn't feel poor. He felt rich in possibility. Mr. Campbell's simple act of kindness planted something in Eli that no amount of hardship could destroy: hope. And while the world still saw a scruffy, quiet boy from a nowhere town, Eli knew that someday he'd step into the light, not just for himself, but for the family who never gave up on him. It was only the beginning, but it was the spark that would set his story in motion. The day Mr. Campbell passed away, something inside Eli shattered. It had only been 6 months since the old teacher handed him that box of books and belief, but in that short time, Eli had grown more than anyone realized. He wasn't just a quiet, poor kid anymore. He had become a student with purpose, clinging to words like they were oxygen. But now, the man who lit the fire was gone, and the flame flickered. Mr. Campbell's desk sat empty for days, a coffee mug still perched on the corner, as if waiting for one last sip. Eli visited the classroom during lunch, sitting in the back row, staring at the chair that used to hold the only adult who truly saw him. No one else noticed. No one else cared. But the world didn't slow down for grief. A new teacher took over, Miss Heatherline Roach, or as the kids quickly nicknamed her, Hardline Roach. She was polished, severe, and didn't tolerate anything less than excellence. Eli knew he didn't stand a chance with someone like her. The first time she saw him, she sneered. "You again," she muttered, glancing at his dirt-streaked shirt and the dried mud caked around his ankles. "Do you even own a mirror?" The class snickered. Eli said nothing, shrinking into his chair like he wanted to vanish. He missed Mr. Campbell more than ever. Miss Roach had no patience for stragglers, dreamers, or dirt-covered farm kids. She wanted performers, students who made her look good in academic contests and school events. Eli, with his broken shoes and homemade lunches, didn't fit the image she wanted to project. Still, Eli kept studying, kept reading. He stayed up late, flashlight in hand, under a threadbare blanket, devouring pages until his eyes ached. His grades remained high, impressively high. But instead of being praised, he was accused. "There's no way a boy like you could get these scores," Miss Roach said one morning, tapping her perfectly manicured nails on his test paper. "Are you cheating?" The word echoed in the room, like a slap. Eli's face turned red, but he held his ground. "No, ma'am, I studied." His voice barely rose above a whisper. She leaned in close. "If you're lying, I'll find out." Every day after that was a quiet war. Eli felt like he had to prove himself twice as hard, knowing she was watching, waiting for him to slip. Yet, he never did. Even when his stomach growled from skipping breakfast, even when his mother's coughs echoed through the thin walls of their trailer, he pushed forward, one test at a time, one word at a time. Then came the school's talent showcase, a mandatory event Miss Roach used to parade her favorites. Eli had no intention of joining, but fate, once again, had other plans. One of the performers dropped out last minute, and with no warning, Miss Roach turned to him, smirking. "You, get up there. Let's see if you can impress someone for once." The entire gym stared as Eli walked toward the stage. His hands trembled. His throat tightened. But deep inside, he heard Mr. Campbell's voice. "You've got a voice. Don't let this world silence it." And so, he took the mic. Eli stood center, stage, the gym buzzing with whispers and judgmental stares. The spotlight above him buzzed softly, casting a pale glow that made the dust in the air shimmer. He could barely breathe. His heartbeat pounded in his ears louder than the murmurs of the crowd. He didn't belong here, and everyone knew it. Miss Roach crossed her arms in the corner, expecting him to stutter, to freeze, to prove that poor kids didn't have the right to stand in the light. She didn't call him up to showcase his talent. She called him up to break him in front of everyone. But Eli, for the first time, didn't back down. He closed his eyes. He thought of his mother coughing in their small trailer, of his dad's worn hands pulling weeds in the field, of Mr. Campbell's voice telling him stories that made him believe in more. And then, he sang. No music, no microphone effects, just his raw, trembling voice, soft at first, fragile as glass. But with every note, his confidence grew. His voice warmed, lifted, carried through the gym like a wave of emotion no one expected. It wasn't just good. It was haunting, pure, honest. The kind of voice that told a story without needing a single word explained. By the second verse, the gym had gone silent. Even the students who used to call him Dirty Eli sat frozen, eyes wide, jaws slack. Something in the way he sang made time slow down. It was pain and hope woven into melody. Years of silence poured out of him in a single song. And Miss Roach. She couldn't look away. When the final note fell from his lips, there was a beat of stillness. Not a clap, not a breath, just pure, stunned quiet. Then, like thunder crashing, the audience erupted, cheering, clapping, some even standing. A few teachers wiped tears from their eyes. The same students who had once mocked him now stared like they were seeing him for the first time. Eli's chest rose and fell as he stepped back from the mic. He looked up, dazed, barely believing what had just happened. His eyes scanned the crowd until they landed on a familiar face. Marcella. She was standing in the front row, hands cupped around her mouth, tears on her cheeks. "You did it," she mouthed. "And Miss Roach?" She remained in the corner, stunned and speechless. Her smug smirk had faded into something unrecognizable. Shock, maybe even awe. She didn't say a word as Eli walked off the stage, his head held, higher than it had ever been. That night, Eli didn't go home to cheers or a trophy. He went home to his mother, still coughing in bed, and his father, still working double shifts. But he also went home with something else. Proof. Proof that no matter how small, how poor, how overlooked someone might be, when the world finally hears your truth, they can't unhear it. And that was just the beginning. After the unforgettable performance, Eli's life shifted overnight. By Monday morning, he wasn't just the quiet kid in the back of the class anymore. He was that boy, the one who made the whole school stand still. Students who had never said a word to him now smiled, waved, even asked if he gave vocal lessons. Teachers pulled him aside with kind words and pats on the back. And Miss Roach? She never mentioned what happened on stage. Not once. But something in her posture changed. Less stiff, less smug, almost cautious. The buzz spread beyond the school walls. A local reporter showed up during lunch hour, asking to interview Eli for a community column. Someone had posted a video of his performance online, and it started gaining views faster than anyone expected. "Trailer Boy sings like an angel," the caption read. It should have hurt. But instead, it sparked something. One evening after school, Miss Roach pulled Eli aside. "There's an inter-county talent contest in Dallas," she said, not meeting his eyes. "I signed you up. If you win, there's a scholarship involved. And people will notice." Her voice lacked warmth, but her eyes had the glint of someone with a plan. Eli hesitated. She hadn't apologized. She hadn't even acknowledged how she'd humiliated him. But deep down, he knew this was bigger than her. Bigger than pride. "I'll do it," he said softly. From that point on, his schedule changed. Early mornings at school turned into late-night rehearsals. Miss Roach became his coach. Intense, demanding, always pushing. "You're good," she said once, "but good doesn't win trophies. Great does." It was the closest she ever came to a compliment. At home, things weren't getting any easier. His mother's cough was worsening. His dad worked longer hours. They rarely asked about his singing, but they listened when he practiced in the living room, quietly smiling through the chaos. Then came contest day. The auditorium was massive, packed with polished performers and sleek talent scouts. Eli walked in wearing a hand-me-down shirt and thrift store boots. He didn't have stylists or makeup. He didn't even have a proper backing track, just his voice. Backstage, his hands trembled. "You got this," Marcella whispered. She had come all the way from town just to cheer him on. When they called his name, Eli stepped into the spotlight again. This time, not as a boy hiding from the world, but as someone ready to show it who he was. The music began. He sang not with fear, but with purpose. Every note held the weight of sacrifice, of long nights, of whispered encouragements from a sick mother and a father who never gave up. The room went still, just like before. But this time it was full of strangers who felt something real in his voice. When the last note fell, the silence shattered into applause. Eli didn't smile. He exhaled. He belonged. And in that moment, he knew. His story wasn't just his anymore. The applause still echoed in Eli's chest as he stepped off stage. Miss Roach was waiting in the wings, clapping stiffly, her smile stretched thin like a mask. "That," she said, "was acceptable. You didn't embarrass me." Eli gave a polite nod, but inside, something cracked. Embarrass you? That performance was for his mother, his father, Marcella, not for her reputation. Over the next few weeks, things moved fast. Eli won the county-level contest. Offers started coming in, scholarships, music schools, even an invite to audition for a televised talent competition. Miss Roach inserted herself into every opportunity. "He's my discovery," she'd say. "I shaped him." And while Eli was grateful she had pushed him into the spotlight, it became clear. She wasn't celebrating him. She was leveraging him. Eli barely had time to breathe. His schedule was packed with rehearsals, interviews, performances. Ms. Roach managed everything. His parents didn't question it. They were just proud, thankful. But Eli? He was exhausted. His voice, once filled with passion, was beginning to feel hollow. Then one night, after a fundraiser event, Eli collapsed backstage. His body had finally said what his mind had been whispering for weeks. "You're burning out." At the clinic, the doctor said he needed rest, real rest. "You keep pushing like this, kid," the nurse said gently. "You'll lose your voice for good." Miss Roach brushed it off. "He's young. He'll bounce back." But Eli didn't bounce back. He sat in silence, staring at the ceiling, wondering if he'd traded his dream for someone else's ambition. Marcella visited that night. She brought homemade soup and quiet company. "You okay?" she asked. Eli shook his head. "I'm tired of being a product," he muttered. "All I ever wanted was to sing, to feel something when I did." Marcella leaned in. "Then maybe it's time you take your voice back." The next morning, Eli made a choice. He met with the rep from the music label offering him a deal. This time, his deal. The label offered not only creative control, but flexibility to finish school and health coverage for his mom, who had quietly grown sicker. The contract required a clean break from Miss Roach. That afternoon, Eli stood in front of her desk at school. She was on the phone, bragging to someone about her rising star. When she hung up, Eli calmly placed a copy of the new contract on her desk. "What's this?" she snapped. "My new direction," he replied. "I'm not going to be your stepping stone." Her face twisted. "You ungrateful little—" "I'm grateful," he cut in. "But I'm done being controlled. I sing because I love it, not to build your legacy." He left without another word. That weekend, Eli signed the deal, with his parents and Marcella at his side. No lights, no fanfare, just a quiet vow to do it right this time. Eli didn't need to win more. He just needed to feel whole again, and as he stepped into this new chapter, he finally understood. This time, the voice was his. If this story moved you the way it moved us, we'd love to hear from you. Where in the world are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below, and let's fill this space with voices from every corner of the globe. Eli's journey, from being shamed on stage to becoming a voice that inspired many, isn't just fiction. It reflects the reality of so many young dreamers who face judgment before they're even given a chance. Have you ever been underestimated? Have you ever had to fight for your voice to be heard? Share your experience. We read every comment, and your story might just uplift someone else today. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another story like this. Tomorrow's episode is filled with even more heart, redemption, and a twist that might just surprise you. Whether you've been with us from the beginning or just found this video today, welcome to the journey. You're part of a growing family that believes in courage, kindness, and second chances. Thank you for being here. Your presence matters.